and welcome to the Crash and Burn podcast. I'm the host, Tim Slagle. Crash and Burn, if you're not aware, is a show that we do here every year at Acme Comedy Company in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I invite three other comedians to join me on stage in writing a new 20 minutes over the course of a week, 7 shows. This year, it will be October 8th through 12th. And I have with me on the other end one of the other comedians I've invited. Please welcome Tony Deyo. Hi, Tony.
Thanks, Tim. How are you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Wonderful. Then thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this.
Oh, no. We had Liz Mealy on last week, and she spoke highly of you. So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've known Liz for, maybe 20 years.
Wow.
We kind of both started comedy right around the same time.
Yeah, that's kind of weird how that works. Is that in comedy is that the class you started with, you kind of have a you kind of become friends for life in the industry.
Yes, yeah, and you kind of move through comedy with that class, and then you start off, you're the like freshman class, and you want to become seniors, and then you become seniors and you don't even recognize the freshmen anymore. You're like, who are these guys?
Yeah, where'd these kids come from?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
And then of course it's always difficult because sometimes people in the group go a little bit further, a little bit quicker.
Always. Yeah.
So there's always a lot of backbiting.
Yeah. You know what's good though? I've noticed the longer I've been in this business, the more I'm happy for people and their success. And when you're young, you see someone, they get like a little TV spot or something, and you're kind of jealous about it, and you wish you had that thing. But the longer I've gone, the more I'm genuinely happy in my soul for people when they do well. I'm friends with Nate Bargatze. He was a comic running around New York City when I was younger. And I couldn't be happier for the success he's had. That's not something I'm jealous about or wish for myself. I'm just genuinely so pleased that people have seen how funny he is.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's the proper attitude to have. It took me.
It takes a while.
it took me several decades to be a big enough person to do that, and still, there still is a little. There still is a little when I see somebody gets it. How did he get that?
Yeah. It's sort of in our DNA a little bit as comedians, but yeah, I've been able to dial that way back.
Well, I also think it has a lot to do that there is such a vast difference between making it and starting out.
Yes, for sure. And I've even to be able to make a living in this business, we've all succeeded and we've all beaten the odds to be able to do that. Because, you think about the people you started with. I don't know if there's 2% of them still in comedy. So we really, really beat the odds to be able to do this as a living. And I'm very fortunate and grateful, and I understand that. So, if my career's not as big as Bert Kreischer or something, I'm okay with that. Because I've made different, choices. I have a son, and it's important for me to spend a lot of time with him. So when he was born, I stopped chasing every single gig that I could, and I don't regret that for 1 millisecond.
Yeah, it's a nice position to be in, that you don't have to chase every gig.
Yes, that's true.
I've often said that drug addicts and comedians are very similar.
Oh yeah.
It's
and sometimes the
long
same
distances in the middle of the night to a questionable neighborhood just for 5 minutes.
Yeah, very sure. Yeah.
So you excited for Crash and Burn? Have you
I
started
am
working on stuff?
I've got I had one kind of story that I wanted to tell, and I've started to evolve over the last maybe 5 or 6 years from kind of a joke teller to telling a little bit more autobiographical things that happened to me. And I have a story that I want to tell that I've never told. So I put that aside. I was
Oh,
like, all
great.
right, I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to leave it where it is, and I'm going to bring it to Minneapolis and see if I can make it work.
Oh, that's great. For people just tuning in that are unfamiliar with the crash and burn concept, that's the one rule. It has to be something that you've never done on stage any time before, so that it's actually
Yeah.
it's coming straight from the notebook out into the
Yeah.
audience. And that's and the best comics are the ones that are able to do that, that are able to actually put something away, and that they're dying to a bit they're dying to work on and
Yeah.
polish it over the
Yeah.
years.
It's one of those things for me, because I've been slightly evolving out of short things into longer form things. Like I was kind of scared. This story happened several years ago, and I wrote it down, but I've always been afraid to tell it. I've had a couple of stories in my act over the years, and if you have a 10-minute story and it's not going well, I don't even know what you do. Like, you got to pull the ripcord and get out of it, or just keep swimming upstream. So it wasn't hard for me to say, yeah, I'll put that away and I'll wait for September. It was actually a little bit of a burden off my shoulders to not have to worry about it.
Oh yeah, that's nice too, to have the luxury where the audience expects something to go 20 minutes and possibly not work. Is that on Tuesday night we get a lot of comedy fans that come in, and a lot of comedians, and there's nothing funnier than another comedian than watching a comedian bomb. So
Oh, yeah.
so when the audience even expects a little bit of a bomb, it really takes the pressure off.
Yeah. Yeah, that is nice. It's funny, years and years ago when I first started headlining, um, I was trying to figure out a way to handle the check drop in the comedy clubs. And for people who don't know, there's a time in most comedy clubs, not all of them do it, but most, there's a time in the middle of the headliner set where they put out all the bills for everyone's drinks and food, and you lose at least half of your audience, and they're trying to figure out who owes for what and everything. And when I was a young headliner, I was like, how do I deal with this? Because I'm not a loud guy, and I'm not, big on stage. That person can keep attention. I'm kind of, I always like Todd Barry's album title, Medium Energy. I'm like, I'm medium energy. So I don't have a way of keeping their attention. So what I started doing years ago is during the check drop, I would try new jokes. And I would tell them, hey, while you guys are, settling up your bills, everything, I'm going to try some new things that I've been wanting to work on. And I love that so much. And audiences love it. They feel like they're participating in you building new material and being part of the process. And so it's become my favorite part of the act is trying new stuff.
That's an awesome gimmick.
It is, yeah.
It really is.
And
to
it
get their
works
attention.
shockingly well. I've had
do you
club
actually-
owners tell me, when you said that, I assumed you were not going to do well with it. And it's always been fantastic.
Huh. Do you actually pull out like a book of stuff or read it off your phone, or when you're trying out the new stuff, or?
Can you say that again? I lost you for just a second, Tim.
Oh, okay. Do you actually, when you say I'm going to try a little bit of new stuff while you're settling up your tab, so do you pull out a notebook or your phone?
I do.
Or?
Yeah. I've and it's just a list of the things I want to try. I don't have like the words written out. Usually when I get to stage, I've done the work of memorizing, and for me, it's just like, oh, I want to try that thing, and I want to try that thing. I got a new tag on that joke I want to try. So everything I'm like really working on kind of gets shoved into this one spot in the act, and it really does. It takes all that you were like talking about Tuesday. It takes the pressure off. When I tell the audience it's new jokes, all of that pressure that we put on ourselves for trying to squeeze something new in, it's all gone. And I'd have no pressure at all, because if it goes down in flames, I'm like, yeah, I told you they were new. So some of them are going to be like that. And it's It's probably the best idea I've ever come up with in my entire life.
No, it's genius. I might steal it. That's how good
Please
it
do.
is.
Yeah, please do. It works so great. I would never want to keep that just to myself. It works great.
So how do you normally write? Are you a notebook guy? Do you carry the notebook around, and as soon as
You
you
know
think
what?
of something funny, jot it down?
Yes.
Or you?
Yep, I was a from the Seinfeld school of sitting down and writing every single day, and that worked for a long, long, long time. And then my son was born, and that went completely out of the window for a long time, longer than it needed to go out the window. And I finally, probably last year, I kind of had a reckoning with myself. I'm like, look, I'm going to blink and my career's going to be done. If I don't get back to this really working on it every single day, I'm going to feel like I didn't succeed to the point I wanted to. So I'm on about a year now of back to every single day, no matter what happens, I sit and write every single day. And I was a pen and paper guy for the longest time, and I was drowning in notebooks. And I went to, you can't see it, but I'm showing you, Tim. I have an electronic notebook now, and I swear by it. It took all the notebooks out of my book bag. It's tiny. I love it. I don't make any commission off of it. But this little electronic notebook I use is unbelievable, and it changed my life.
Well, another comic that recommended you, Andy Hendrickson. Actually, he was the first
Yes.
person I knew who had one of those. He kind of
Yes.
we pulled
Andy's
out
the
our
guy.
ratty spiral notebooks, and he slips that out of his its satin cover and sets it on the table. And
Yep.
it was
Yep.
it was an amazing
You're gonna
moment
see it
for the
again.
other comics looking at that. So who had it first?
Yeah,
Was it
I
you
let
or him?
everyone. Andy, he's the one that talked me into it. And it's funny, he said, I don't think I use this to its full capability, but Andy's known me a long, long time. He's like, you're going to use this, and it's going to change your life. And it absolutely did. It's been fantastic. And I let comedians use it. I'm like, try it. It feels like write a pen on paper. Feels amazing. It's not weird because I always felt like the stylus and an iPad. It didn't feel like writing to me because you're writing on glass. And the other problem is an iPad has every distraction and notification that every other device we own has. And I'm like, I don't I'm purposely trying to get away from these distractions. So this
Right.
notebook, the only thing you can do with it is write on it. And I love it so much. So you're going to see it again when I show up in Minneapolis.
I actually found an old I found my first laptop stuck away and it tucked away in a shelf, and it still works, and it can't hook up to the
No
internet.
kidding.
And what I've decided, I said I'm gonna get this thing working again, and I'm gonna use this to write on for the same exact purpose. Just absolutely no distractions.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and I tried it, and I said, okay, now how do I get what I put in here out of it? I don't know.
Oh,
know
yeah,
how
that
to
is
do
the
it.
other trick.
Because there's
Yeah, because you can't even
really,
email it to yourself.
no, there's no Ethernet on it. There's no USB that I can plug a USB drive into it. It doesn't have a CD burner. It's got a floppy drive. That's what it's, so
No
yeah,
kidding.
so now I've been
Golly.
trying to find a sloppy drive that'll plug into a modern. So it's kind of like it's kind of like a time machine where where it's still isolated in the there's
Yeah.
nothing, it's trapped in the past. But that notebook that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah,
It's,
that's really cool. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I'll take it. I can take it to the coffee shop, and I'll leave all my devices at
take
home
it to the coffee
and
shop
just
and
take the notebook and nothing.
impress everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody that's
all the
sitting around
comics
you.
that are there writing, they're on their phones, and it's funny. This is another joke I've been working on it and thinking about how much time we waste, and I did the math on it, and they say the average person spends about 2 hours and 20 minutes a day on social media, which sounds insane. But if you
Yeah.
even if you were
How do you keep
late to
it?
the game,
I'm sorry. I'm thinking
if you
two
were
hours and
late
20
to the
minutes. That's
game,
it. If you're late to the
yeah,
game, I'm saying.
that's average. But if you didn't start social media till 2012, you have already spent 10,000 hours on social media, which is the number they say that you can become a world-renowned expert at any skill or topic of your choosing is 10,000 hours. And that's basically what we've all wasted in the last 12 years. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
I've honed the skill of making people angry with me. That's
Yes.
that is what I've
Yeah.
achieved.
That's what you're a world-renowned expert at.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while I'm just a rat in Zuckerberg's cage. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there banging away on the keyboard, hoping to make that little red food pellet in the corner show up.
Yep. Exactly.
After you've written something, after it comes out, how long does it take usually normally before it goes on stage? Does it?
I will I will try it the very next time I go on stage because that's when you're most excited about it. I've written something on an airplane and tried it on the show when I got there. Um, I one of my favorite shows in New York City is called Not. I think it's Not Ripe Bananas, where it's just all new material, and I love doing that show. I do it, every 2 or 3 months. But I bring everything new that I have, and it's another situation where the audience knows everybody's trying out new material. So I love doing it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, you get the same pass that you get when an improv team is on stage. Is that
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
it doesn't have to be hilarious if it's fresh,
yeah, yeah.
and you'll
And I do
find.
like that.
Go ahead.
I do like that idea that Chris Rock talked about a long time ago about if it's not funny, at least be interesting, and you can keep an audience's attention as long as you're interesting. And so I aim for that. Be interesting. Try to find the funny in there somewhere, and you can
Oh,
go a long way.
yeah, that's a good point. That's also where theater. That's the difference between theater and stand up. It's in theater if there's a long pause and the audience is absolutely quiet, you've hit you've hit it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what you try to achieve. In comedy,
Yeah.
that's the last
Yep.
thing you want.
Yeah. Yeah. There's magic in that silence, though, because as a comedian, if you can leave a silence and nobody yells at you or something, then you've also done something right.
Yeah,
They're at least aware, like, what's next?
yeah. Have you found people yelling at stuff more? Have you found that the audience thinks
No.
heckling is the way comedy should be? Because I know it's a big gripe.
Yeah, and I understand that it is happening. My type of comedy doesn't bring that out of people. I avoid any topics that might upset people. I'm very kind of I wouldn't say vanilla, but I'm very clean, and avoid the kind of potholes that as a young comedian I had a hard enough time getting people to laugh. So I was like, I'm going to avoid politics because that splits the room in half, and I need everybody with me. And it was it was more of a survival mechanism when I was younger. And now, I've just done it the way I've done it for so long that I, I don't really, if anyone talks during my set, they're truly, genuinely just trying to be helpful. They're nice people that are talking. It's not anyone yelling, "You're terrible." Find a real job. None of that stuff. And I don't make people angry. That I can't even imagine. It's. I don't know if I've ever told a joke that made anyone angry. It's just not my style.
Well, sometimes though when you do those out of the way bar gigs, sometimes they come in angry.
Yeah,
It's
that's true. Yeah, if they had to shut off the game so that you could tell your jokes. I've angered people that way, I guess, if I'm thinking back on it.
it's always I've kind of felt that some of those around the turn of the century, the prize fighter would go from town to town along the railroad stops, and
Yeah.
they would challenge the town tough to go 5 minutes with the heavyweight champion. You could win
Yeah.
$5 if you do, and
Yeah.
and I think a lot of those comedy clubs that I used to do when I was first starting out, that's what they were. It's
Yeah.
we're bringing in an out of town smart ass to
Yep.
try to match wits with our local smart ass.
Yeah. I remember, I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was a one-nighter in a bar like that where every variable that could have been right was wrong. And I just went down in flames, and I was sitting in this lonely hotel room, uh, and I just decided, I'm like, I don't need this money. I made maybe $100. I feel bad about myself. I didn't get better at comedy. I'm a guy that, like, I know that one of the running theories, and it's probably good when you're younger, that all stage time is good stage time. But I think you reach a point where that is no longer true. And like bad stage time only makes you hate the business and hate people. And so I reached a point where like I could be when we talked about kind of picky and choosy about what, and so I only take gigs where I have a decent chance of being successful at it. If it seems like it's going to be, a lion tamer gig where I'm kind of having to fight the audience, I'm like, that's not for me. There's people that are better at it than I am, and it's best for everyone involved if I don't go do that.
So, do you have anything coming up that you want to plug? Anything exciting to talk about?
Yeah, I'm going to be in Austin, Texas, I believe the 17th and 18th of August. I'm shooting a movie right before I get there, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, what's the movie?
I shot a movie. Um, I don't even know the title yet. It has a working title, but I shot a movie in March. The director loved me, and so I'm going back to Chicago again to shoot her next film as well.
Oh, and
It's exciting. It's an
that'll be out.
independent. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the next Iron Man or anything, but
So that's in
yeah, I'm
August.
very
You'll be in
excited about
Chicago
that.
in August. Is that what you're saying? Did I just lose you? Oh, so
Yeah. Sorry, I lost you for a minute.
no, it's okay. Are you going to be? So you're going to be filming it in August? Is that?
Yeah, I'll shoot for a week in August, and then I go from there to Austin to Cap City Comedy Club.
Oh, cool. I was in Austin a few months ago. It's the scene there is amazing. It's you have to
Yeah,
make
that's actually where I
reservations.
started comedy.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
good place to start.
I was teaching school at the time. I was a band director in Texas, and I'd always loved stand up. And they were teaching a comedy class at Cap City, which was at a different location then. It was kind of the original Cap City, and I took a class and I loved it, and it kind of all just kept going from there.
How is it? How have you seen the Austin scene changed? Because when I was there a couple months ago, it just you had to make reservations 2 weeks in advance to get in to see an open mic on a Sunday. It's unreal.
That's amazing. It was
Yeah.
when I was started there. It was kind of a cliquey scene because there wasn't that many clubs. There was Cap City. There was, I think, a place called the Velveeta Room, which is kind of the alti room, I believe, at the time. And there wasn't a lot of spots for comedians. So when someone new came and it's like, hey, I want to try comedy, you were kind of shunned by the comedians that were already there because they're like, there's not enough time for us already. We don't need you coming and trying to take more time away. So for me, it was a very cliquey scene, but it seems like it's grown up a lot, and there's probably room for everybody there now.
That's yeah. I've often said that it's like that when you're a comedian, it's like you play the room like it's a musical instrument, and whereas you can buy
Yes.
a guitar, there's thousands of guitars that you can choose from if you want to buy a guitar. there's only a couple rooms. So it's like,
Right.
it's almost as if
Yep.
there's one musical instrument that we all have to share.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So what year was that you started?
I started, that would have been right around, let's see, 2001 is when I started down there.
And it's you're in New York now, is that correct?
Yes, I've been in New York for 17 years.
Oh wow. So so it was I'm trying to do the math in my head here. I had a flight this morning.
It was a long time ago.
6 years. So
Let's
so
not
you
do
were-
the math, Tim.
So you were doing 6 years when you made the move. You had 6 years.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and I moved from Austin to North Carolina, and I worked at a Funny Bone in High Point, and did a lot of like emceeing and hosting there, and started doing some middle spots. And kind of when it closed, I had started getting a little bit of work on the road, and after it closed, I was like, yeah, maybe it's time to make the move.
Was it hard? Did you have a hard time busting in, or did you already have a solid
Yeah.
enough?
I was I knew a lot of people, a lot of comedians in New York, so they were helpful. But it took me, it was probably 5 years before it was 5 years, 6 years before I did Conan. And, in that time, I did a lot of like produce shows and things like that. And then doing Conan and then the Late Late Show kind of gave me the extra cachet or whatever the word is I might be looking for to be able to say, I should be working at this club. I should be working at this club. It was also exactly the time my son was born. So I'd also kind of retreated a little bit from comedy at the same time. But I was able to kind of get into some better produced shows and a few of the clubs at that time by way of having done a few TV spots.
Great. Well, I think that's about the time. People that want to find more about you, where do they go?
You just Tony Deyo. If you look me up online, I'm the most famous Tony Deyo. I think there used to be a bass player for a Christian band named Tony Deyo, but I've far surpassed him in fame. So if you look up,
Well, yeah, it's a bass.
Tony Deyo,
It's a
you're-
bass player.
yeah, exactly. He wasn't even the lead singer.
Actually, it wasn't even the drummer.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's Tony Deyo, Deyo, and
that's correct.
thanks a lot.
Yep,
Thanks a lot.
that's me on.
Thanks a lot for spending some time with me today. And I'm looking
Absolutely.
forward to Crash and Burn the 13th. That's October 8th through 12th, and we'll see you then.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Tim.